Good evening. This is Rebecca Gomez, Administrative Director for the Juntos Art Association, here to celebrate with Creative Director Diana Molina the opening of her retrospective exhibition at the Mexican American Cultural Center. We're here to celebrate Dos Equis, Timeline at the Crossroads, Dos Equis.
Buenas noches. Good evening. Great to be with you. Great to join you from my studio in New Mexico for the celebration of independence and heritage with the City of Austin and the Mexican American Cultural Center. Thanks so much to the staff of the MACC. Thank you to the Juntos Art Association members who are participating in the artist talks, which are also part of this program. And I'm going to give you a little walkthrough through the exhibit that begins with the ribbon cutting of this installation and the book, Icons and Symbols of the Borderland. Angel Cabrales, Director of the Sculpture Department at UTEP, and artist Davinia Miraval, joined me for going through the motions of ribbon cutting in the virtual world. Everything is different, and I thank each and every one of you for being here for part of this ribbon cutting. I start with this installation, which is my grandfather's old typewriter, Angel Cereces, one of my heroes and a key part of the storytelling influence that was part of my own heritage and family experience. The exhibit and retrospective of my work includes various dear to my heart and part of my genetic makeup from the Tarahumara, the Raramuri, that come from the Sierra Madre in Chihuahua, Mexico. As mestizas, we have a heritage of Spanish, of indigenous, of Anglo, and it is that mix that makes us unique, that mix of different characteristics, different traditions. And that is why I start with this series. Michaca means moon, featuring the Footrunners of the Sierra Madre. Deep canyons within the Sierra Madre of Chihuahua, where the Tarahumara live and run and are super athletes. Here, a runner who is in a 50-mile ultra marathon race against runners from across the world. So dimensions into my life there, living among the very unique, amazing Tarahumara and what the dangers they face to their habitat and the endurance that they are showing in survival. Morena Moderna, contemporary depictions of the Virgen de Guadalupe. Well, this portrays traditional celebrations, traditional depictions. It is also how this icon relates to the modern day representation of women. How is it connected? How is it different? How is it evolving? How is it controversial? Here she is between two images on Cosmopolitan magazine and other racy depictions of women. Here again, I return to the personal in this stained glass montage that shows in the rays of light women who are part of my own life, like my mother, my beloved Aunt Becky, my tia Becky, Marta Cotera, who's one of the original founding members of the Mexican American Cultural Center. And it is the icon that represents womanhood, the spirit, the life-giving force. These are Matachin dancers on my own desert mesa where I live, on the dirt road. Matachin dancers are transnational. They have origins in Europe, but now incorporated into the celebrations in Mexico, across the United States, and definitely here close to home in New Mexico. Of course, another very relevant, integral part of border patrol is immigration reform. Another thing that's shaking things up here in our country and international importance as it impacts so many people. This image portrays a rally and one of the women fighting for immigration reform, what so many want, to make things better. This is Rally for the Future. Why are people rallying? It is time for change. It is time for transformation. What is the role of women? What is the role of each and every one of us, beginning with the young, with the old, those who can vote, those who cannot vote? We all have a part to play in our democracy, in our future, in the changing stripes of the American landscape, as this particular montage displays. What role do the women of color, what role do the women have? What role do we all have as part of this democracy in improving it, making it better, being an integral part of what happens? And of course, the very controversial wall. This is a patchwork of, I've skirted the, I've traversed the border experience from one end to another, from the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf Coast. And this is in one particular location, just the patchwork, what gets torn, what gets broken, a large part of the budget that goes to just mending the wall, mending the fence, and cutting through the natural world. Which then leads to Viva Chihuahua, the landscape I inhabit, that covers so much of Texas, New Mexico, Chihuahua, the great part of many states in Mexico as well. And the importance of water that crosses through the rivers, water that is part of the entire ecosystem of survival. And the plants, the unique landscape, the animals. And Pura Basura, a fifth series that also depicts the natural surroundings that I find myself, that I cut across on my trails and walks. This is a serape that also ties to that long-standing tradition that is influenced by many cultures, but it is with contemporary discarded materials of modern day. This is inspired by the diamondback rattler and the sandy terrain that I walk along. This is a signature piece, Dos X. It represents the female chromosomes, as this is an exhibit that shows images related to women, portraying women, and that force of women that is an integral part to finding the balance that we need today. And of course, the cultural representation. And twice, Dos X 2020, the day in which we live, the unique time that we find ourselves. Corazón Espinado. This is at once a memorial to the ancestors of my past, of our past collectively, the spiritual, the environmental, the celebration, but above all that personal, emotional experience that ties me to my own art, to my own process and expression. And I will read a mantra that I follow, a mantra that it's Gloria Andalzúa, a hero in Borderlands La Frontera, the new mestiza. Very appropriate for this collection and this body of work. Quote, I will have my serpent's tongue, my woman's voice, my sexual voice, my poet's voice. I will overcome the tradition of silence. End quote. And it is heartfelt as I portray again this connection to my ancestors, this connection to the story of the border experience with grandparents, parents, friends, family, other artists that are part of the programming tied with this collection. This exhibit is my own retrospective, but I'm also including the artists from the Juntos Art Association who are part of my latest book, Icons and Symbols of the Borderland, art from the US-Mexico Crossroads, and the many artists that are featured here and share their stories. It was published by Schiffer Publishing, I should say, who supported the effort. I thank every one of the team members there. And again, every artist in the Juntos Art Association. And proceeds from book sales by going to the Juntos Art website will benefit the Juntos Art Association and its programs. With that, I switch to give a little preview of the studio visits coming up for the program on September 18th and the exhibit opening of this collection with Zoom visits, virtual studio visits to a selection of Juntos artists who are also in the book. We start with Cesar Martinez, who created the image on the cover of the book. And I first went to Cesar's studio 17 years ago. Would have never expected that many years later it would be part of this creation, this collaborative effort. So he talks about the cover, the representations of women and other portrayals of women. The Chicana women, the Latina women, the border perspective. Victoria Suescum in her studio and her very playful illustrations of how women are portrayed and on storefronts, the vernacular. Mark Clark, who has caricatures, very ironic depictions, and has lived right on the border with very unique perspectives. He taps into the ancient myths and stories, depicting street scenes of women and dancing. And of course, the tragedy, the violence, the serious topics that are also part of this story. Here, taking a more playful look at the Rio Grande, the border wall, and the entire scene between immigration and the Migra Border Patrol in a colorful illustration. Davinia Miraval. This is also in the book, in the Icons and Symbols of the Borderland book, depicting the journey of womanhood with fabrics, with the fabric of old receipts and paper, with depicting that struggle that so many are going through in 2020 with depression and family violence, the domestic violence that continues to be a part of the issues that women confront. so many of it is playful, but much of it is serious, and it's addressing the issues that confront women, not just women on the border, but women across the spectrum of cultures. Gaspar Enriquez focuses on women of the border, women of the barrio. And he's one of the original members of the Juntos Art Association, who's been in the group since the late 1980s when it was first established. Here portraying another Juntos member, Celia Munoz, in his portrayal. She's also from the borderland, El Paso, Texas, very talented artist. And another image from the book, portraying that identity, that heritage that women on the border carry across 2 full pages. And with that, I close with this book, this invitation to participate, to visit the exhibit, to visit the installation, to see the work that we're all doing collectively, the icons and symbols of the Borderland book. It is a challenging time, 2020, but it is also time to celebrate. There's much to celebrate. Independence, the collective experience, but above all, viva la mujer, fuerza a la mujer, pura mujer. Thank you.